Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, May 26th of 2024. Now I have a great message for you today that I thought would put us a little bit on an edgier side, and that is connecting into our higher consciousness through means that might feel a little uncomfortable. And a lot of these things I've tried, I've been interested in, and I think it's really important to expand on different ways to elevate our consciousness and get out of our comfort zone. So I've got a quick list of 12 here, and I just want to go through these and share maybe some of my experiences, but maybe open your mind to the possibility of getting out of your comfort zone when it comes to raising your consciousness, because I think that's the path that we're all on. Whatever way you choose to do it, and there are many ways, but I think some of these take thinking outside of the box, right? So the very first one, and this one is actually pretty easy, many of you are probably already doing this, and this is to embrace fasting. Now, there are two main types of fasting. Intermittent fasting, which basically gives you a fasting or a eating window during the day, and you only eat maybe a 6-hour, 8-hour window, and you might even take that down to like a 4-hour window, where you're basically just eating during a short period of time during the day. And I have found this to be really beneficial, because when I am not spending my time and my energy just making sure I'm eating, not only do I have more time, but I actually feel better and lighter in my physical body because I'm giving it a break from eating. And I know that intermittent fasting is a super easy way for most people to start into places where you might want to do longer fasting, because then that takes us to the next part of embracing fasting, and that is to challenge yourself to do longer fasting. And you might be a person who can't fast, and there's a whole bunch of nuances around fasting safely. You know, if you've got some medical issues, you're on certain medications, you know, there's reasons not to do fasting. But if you're an overall healthy person, you might want to get some guidance from somebody who's got some experience and can take you on a long guided fast. But when you go for periods of time without eating, it literally raises the state of your consciousness. And I have personally experienced this many times, because fasting has been an important part of my journey, my health journey as an adult. You know, we were actually kind of forced to do fasting on the first Sunday of every month when I grew up in the religion that I grew up in, and it was not a pleasant experience, because it was something that we were forced to do. We were little kids, and it's interesting because now as adults, almost all of my siblings embrace the idea of not just intermittent fasting, but doing certain periods of time where you're taking a 24-hour period, a 48-hour, 36, 72. You know, if you can go do a 4 or 5 day water fast, and you need to do a lot of prep up to that, you will get benefits that will far exceed the physical benefits, but you will get the spiritual enlightenment benefits that come along with fasting. So do a little bit of your own due diligence, make sure that you really tune in and make sure that it's right for you and get the right guidance. But this is a little bit of a out-of-the-box way to raise your consciousness. Now the second one is to do sensory deprivation. And this can mean things like sound and sight. And I actually had a friend who went to a retreat where he spent an entire week, where all during the day they were in a pod that was completely sensory deprivation. There was no sound and there was no light, so it was completely dark and it was completely quiet. And I believe they were even in some kind of floating situation where they were weightless. And then at the end of the day, they actually regrouped. They talked it out with they had a small group that they talked it out with, and he recounted that while it was so difficult to do this, that it completely changed him, and it changed his state of consciousness permanently. So here's what I wrote about that. So there's actually something called flotation therapy, where you use tanks of water to achieve sensory deprivation. So this is similar to what my friend did. It promotes deep relaxation and profound meditative states. Because when you don't have any sight or sound, when you're just completely deprived of any sensory input, you really tune into that higher self, that deeper part of you. And then you can also participate in a silent retreat, which, you know, these are things that are all outside your comfort zone. In fact, that's what I was after for information in this video, is what are things that make us uncomfortable as humans? Because I do believe that we don't get ourselves out of our comfort zone enough, because that's where the growth happens. So a silent retreat, basically, for a few days, disconnects you from external noise and helps you to focus inward. And I think that when we're in a silent place, because we can do this in our own home in meditation, if we go to a quiet place, we just need to make sure we don't bring our phone, our iPad, we don't bring anything that's going to disturb us, and we just go into a super quiet place. Now the third one I wrote down here is cold exposure. And many of you have heard of Wim Hof, you've heard of taking a cold plunge, and how good it is for your immune system, how good it is for just your overall well-being. Kind of shocks your body, but you do it for such short periods of time that, of course, it's good and it's safe. And there are people who shouldn't be doing this. So again, please take all of these things with knowing yourself, knowing your own body. Know these are all not meant to be medical advice. These are meant to not just entertain you, but hopefully motivate you to think outside your comfort zone and think outside the box. So a good place to start with this is simply by taking a cold shower, because maybe you don't have access to a cold plunge. Maybe you really don't want to get into a cold tub of water and just sit in a cold tub. A cold shower is a good place to start. You know, I know that there's been moments when I've only had cold water in a shower, not by choice, but because there was something wrong with the hot water. And I was in a situation where I had to take a shower, I had to get ready to go somewhere. So I was really forced to take a cold shower, wash my hair, and get all clean with just cold water. And while it was uncomfortable and took my breath away and was a little bit, you know, just kind of, this is not how I like to take showers. When I was done, it was absolutely exhilarating. So I would say start kind of forcing yourself to take a 1 minute, a 2 minute, 3 minute cold shower. It's so, so good for you, and literally helps tune you in with your physical body so that you can tune into your consciousness. Now there's something called lucid dreaming, and what I wrote here are basically two things. Dream journaling, which is this: keep a dream journal to enhance dream recall and explore lucid dream techniques for greater self-awareness. I have a couple of friends who do this, who journal down every dream that they have, and then they meditate on it, and it gives them more clarity, because we go into a deeper part of ourselves when we're dreaming and when we're sleeping. And I think it's a really cool thing to write these things down. And then part of lucid dreaming includes something that's called a reality check. So what this means is to perform a reality check throughout the day to increase the likelihood of becoming lucid in your dreams. And I think what this basically means to me is you want to just become aware. Become aware of where you are. Become aware of what your body's doing, what your body's feeling. What are you listening to? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Is there chaos going on in your environment at maybe a certain point in a reality check? You know, do a reality check on yourself during the day a couple of times. And this is actually a good way to simply stay present, because we get so distracted by everything that's happening, right? So I really love that. Psychedelic experiences. Now, I wanted to bring this one up because many of you know that I just brought a book out. It actually comes, if you're watching this on Sunday, the 26th of May, my book is released on the 28th. So in 2 days, it is going to be shipped out off of Amazon and Barnes & Noble for everybody who pre-ordered. But it's called Be Your Own Shaman. And in this book, there's a chapter on psychedelics. And there's 7 psychedelic sacred plants that are designed to help humans heal, and a lot of it is on a deep psychological level, a spiritual, emotional level. And these, of course, should be facilitated by someone who knows how to guide you on a journey. This might be something that gets you really uncomfortable, maybe you just thinking about it. And personally, I have experienced a couple of plant medicine journeys, and they have been extremely powerful. And the purpose behind them and the intention changes everything. You know, I'm not a person who believes that psychedelics should be used for entertainment. And I don't judge people who choose to do that. I think that, you know, my husband said that when he was in college 45 plus years ago, that they did a lot of magic mushrooms, and it was for pure entertainment. And now, as a person who's a lot older and he hasn't done psychedelics for decades, it would be something he might consider, but it would be for a fully different reason. And I've known younger people, way younger people, who have gone on plant medicine journeys, and they do it with intention. They do it to heal trauma. They do it to heal maybe PTSD. Maybe they want to get in touch with their higher self and their higher consciousness, and be in a place of pure love, so that you know what it is that you're after on this planet. I think that plant medicine is taking a huge resurgence in our modern culture because many people are in the midst of a great awakening. And I think that this can have a really, really important piece of helping us heal and helping us realize that we are part of the Creator. We are a part of God. And sometimes we can't see that because the earth is so dense. This planet is so dense. And sometimes we need to get out of our comfort zone, find the right facilitator, and integrate plant medicine into our emotional healing to help us raise our consciousness. Coming from personal experience, this is one of the best things that I have ever done in my own personal healing journey, and my desire to raise my consciousness and become the most loving, open, forgiving person that I can be. So that is definitely something to explore. So not just, here's what I wrote. I wrote two things. Plant medicine, safely explore the use of plant medicine. Things like ayahuasca, psilocybin mushrooms, or even San Pedro cactus. And actually all three of these things are in my book. Make sure you do use the guidance of an experienced facilitator. Now, the second part of a psychedelic experience is something called microdosing. Experiment with microdosing psychedelics to enhance creativity, focus, and emotional well-being. Now, this is not me encouraging you to go out and do something illegal. Please know that I'm giving you this information for pure entertainment and education only. And this is all based on my own opinion and my own research. So do some due diligence, educate yourself. There's actually a really beautiful series on Netflix called How to Change Your Mind. And it's based on a book that was written by Michael Pollan. And he wrote a book called The Omnivore's Dilemma. He's written several books, but he wrote this book in 2019, I believe. And they made it into a 4-part series on Netflix. Again, How to Change Your Mind. And it's all about psychedelics. A beautiful history into the use of plant medicine on this level for human beings and helping us heal. Really, really beautiful. So that's definitely something that might get some of you out of your comfort zone to even think about that or consider that, right? Now, the next one is sound therapy. Now, sound therapy I really love because I believe that music puts us in a completely different state. If you think about listening to music like hard rock or really intense rap music, I personally can't listen to music like that. It kind of just hurts my psyche. It hurts my soul. But music can actually change our state of being. If you've listened to really beautiful pieces of music, it can change the way that you feel and you walk through your day. And it can actually take you and put you in a really good mood. So I would start compiling a playlist that you can keep on your phone. And when you need to have, a quieter moment, a time when you can have reflection, or even just something to bring your heart rate down from the chaos of your day. Have a beautiful playlist that you might even be able to play through your house, and to help calm the mood and the energy and the consciousness of the people in your house. Now, there's also another beautiful thing with sound therapy, and that's sound bowls, or going to a sound bath. You can actually go to a place where they do sound bowls, and they do different instruments that actually just bathe your whole senses and your whole body in the beauty of just different sounds and frequencies, the different higher frequencies that our bodies resonate with. So that's definitely something to consider. Now, the next one is breath work. And breath work can actually put you in high states of consciousness if you learn how to do the right breath work, because you're changing the state of your being. And there are actually apps that you can download, and it can take you through some guided breath work. And I've actually been able to get into very high states of being, almost similar to, say, doing microdosing of psilocybin, or even places of a plant medicine journey, simply by doing intense breath work. And if that sounds kind of crazy, if you've experienced it, then you know that's spot on. But doing breath work can really take you into higher states. And one of the things I love to do is, when I'm doing some fasting, I love to do intentional breath work and music, really beautiful, high frequency music that puts me into a higher state. And you don't have to do some of these things for a super long time. You can do them for short periods of time that will immediately bring you into higher states of consciousness. Super awesome. Creative expression, like art therapy and ecstatic dance. I love art. I do a lot of art. I also love dancing, but I'm a bit of a conscious, I'm a bit conscious about my dancing. So it's like, if I'm at a wedding where there's a whole bunch of people dancing, yeah, I can dance. But I would say one of the best things that you can do is find some of your favorite dance music. Again, make yourself a playlist and just dance by yourself, where you don't have to worry about anyone watching. You can just simply put yourself in a beautiful state of being by feeling the music and moving your body to the music. There is something so beautiful about this. And I would say that the more you do this, the easier it gets. In fact, if you've ever been at an event where there's dancing, and you see people just out there expressing themselves in dance, and you can see how much they're enjoying it, and it might be a little bit like, oh my gosh, I wish I was brave enough to do that. I would say put your bravery jacket on and get out there and do some ecstatic dance, and just some dancing. Maybe grab your spouse and have a dance night. Me and my husband, we have some really good friends who, just the two of them, they probably do this once a week. They bring their favorite playlist, music they each like. It's a playlist they put together, and they have a dance party, just the two of them. And it's something that they've just enjoyed for the very long marriage that they've had. And it might seem awkward and uncomfortable if you're not used to doing that, but I think you'd be surprised at how much you would enjoy it, and how much it would just raise your spirits and raise your consciousness, right? Community building. This definitely helps to raise your consciousness. And I really don't need to say too much more about that. I think when we do a community garden, when we build a strong community in our neighborhood, when we build our community, this is what makes us stronger as a collective, stronger in our spirit, in our consciousness, because not only are we building a community that we have for support and we can lean on, but we are able to know that this is how humans thrive and survive, is we come together as a tribe. And I think that this is a super important time to build our communities, really super important. Next is a digital detox. This is second from the last. Take regular breaks. I'm always talking about this because I think it's super important to take regular breaks from your technology. I know that I feel better when I put on music in the evening, or I read something, or I go on a walk, on my favorite walk, rather than suck into the latest podcast or sit and get caught on some of the YouTube stuff I watch, because I can still get caught in that because I find it interesting. I like to know what's going on in the world. I like watching things that confirm my worldview, which I think we all do. But I think that when we do a digital detox and we just leave that out, this is a really nice way to raise our consciousness. You know, what I like to do is I like to simply, this time of year, I love making my yard look beautiful. And me and my husband, we consider ourselves so lucky because I love weeding and he loves planting. So he plants all the flowers, he waters all the pots, he mows the lawn, he takes care of, you know, all of that stuff. And I love making my yard look good by pulling weeds. And like I said, we have a big yard and it's got a lot of weeds. We've got a nice garden, we've got an herb garden, but we have a lot of flowers, we have a lot of trees, and making them look beautiful by just, you know, pulling the weeds that are around the plants and the trees just makes me feel so good. So, you know, we've just got a good mix going on there, but it makes me feel better than sitting on the couch watching YouTube videos or doing whatever. So this is like a really beautiful time of year to spend time outside. And that's the second part of a digital detox is, you know, spend more time in nature. And then the last one is to really dial in your personal rituals. You know, I have a ritual that I do every single morning. I'm always up early. I turn on my teapot, I brew up a cup of tea, I get all my supplements out for the day, and then I sit with my journal and I do a meditation that's really just sitting in quiet, and I ask my higher self, what do you want to tell me today? And I'm listening to the deeper wisdom that I have inside of myself. And I think that all of us have that, but we never take the time to listen. And I will tell you, a couple of the plant medicine journeys that I've done have really helped me tune in and listen to that higher part of myself, and to know when that's my higher self telling me and guiding me. You know, I think we second guess everything. You know, something comes in that feels like it's profound and it's guidance, and then we go, you know, maybe that wasn't really, you know, that wasn't really guidance. But when you really start tapping in and tuning into that, you realize that the wisdom that we have is really, really intense and really beautiful. So I would really dial in your, you know, personal rituals. I think a daily gratitude practice is important, just to simply remind us of our blessings and how grateful we are for all the things that we have. And then I think it's really nice to create kind of like a sacred space, a space where we can, you know, go, it's quiet, it's beautiful, it's clean. It might be out in nature, it might be near a window looking out into nature, it might just be a beautiful room that you have maybe some crystals in, and, you know, you could just make this beautiful space that allows you to have a place where you can raise your consciousness. So what I would really love is, I would love to hear what it is that you do. What are some of your practices that help you become into an enlightened state? You know, I think there are many, many things. And if this is something you've never done, I'd like to hear maybe why this is something that you haven't dipped into. Because I think that if you're a person watching this, you probably have something in place where you either do a digital detox, you do meditation, maybe you're a cold plunge person, and that's your jam. You know, I know people who, they almost feel like they're addicted to cold plunging because it makes them feel so good. And I even have one friend who makes the temperature of his cold plunge a little bit warmer, even though it's still cold, so that he can stay in there longer, because he enjoys it so much and it just makes him feel so good. So I think that some of these practices are important to explore. as the world is awakening, as the world is going through shifts, as we're walking through some of these really hard times with each other and supporting each other. These practices have been a real lifesaver for me, especially these last 5 or 6 months, as I've walked through the hardest challenge of my life. These practices have grounded me. They've given me the reminder of why I'm here and the bigger picture of, we're all mortal. None of us are getting out of here alive. And we stepped into this time to get the growth, get the lessons, and to help make a difference. I think that it doesn't serve ourselves and our families and the collective if we're just trying to barely survive through the chaos of our emotions and the craziness of the politics and the world that we see and the world that we know is changing. It doesn't serve ourselves, our families, or the collective if we're just simply numbing ourselves out on our technology, overeating, overdrinking, distracting ourselves with things that don't add value, not just to ourselves, but to humanity. This is why we're here, and we all have massive gifts to provide, every single one of us. And just imagine what the world would look like as we each start to evolve into higher states of consciousness. It's already happening. It's already happening. So I thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. I think we get to walk each other through these beautiful times and look at them as beautiful rather than chaotic, right? Look at your fellow man with compassion and with just with pure love. I think there's a truth to be said that there's hurt people that hurt people. And sometimes we don't understand why others inflict pain on their fellow humans. But we can do our best to understand and just, flow love their way and, take action on the things that we know we need to. So I do hope that this is giving you a couple of nuggets of thought, something to push yourself out of your comfort zone when it comes to raising your levels of consciousness. So thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week ahead, and we'll talk to you next time.